Good morning, world. I am Judy, your web-based therapist, making therapy accessible and convenient for our clients in Florida and New York, and of course, sharing information worldwide. Today, I want to take a moment and talk about high-functioning depression because it's been getting talked about. It's been getting a little bit more attention lately. Even though I know that there's still some debate on whether or not we should even be using the term high-functioning depression because of how some people may see that reflecting on depression overall. And one thing to know is that high functioning depression is actually not a clinical term. It's just something that has kind of started getting used. And there has been talks and conversations as to whether or not it should be included in the DSM at the next revision. But as of right now, high functioning depression is just a term that is used. It is not a clinical diagnosis per se. But before we get into that, I want to take a quick moment and say, if you are subscribed, thank you so much for being a part of our awesome world. If you're not yet subscribed, please take a moment and click the subscribe button below so you can join all this awesomeness. And remember to tick the bell so that you are notified when I post new videos so you don't miss anything. And of course, if you'd like to purchase 1 or 3 of my books, also a link below that will take you to a site that shows you your different options of places where you could get 1 or 3 of my books. Okay, let's get back to it. The first thing to know is that high-functioning depression is depression. It has depression in the title. It is depression. One of the things that I guess could differentiate high-functioning depression from what we know as depression is that it does not always look like people expect depression to look. People who are experiencing that high-functioning depression are still going through maybe the sadness, the sleeplessness, the changes in eating pattern, that irritability, or whatever their depressive symptoms are. But their response to it may be different from what we expect or from what people generally expect depression to look like. People with high functioning depression have a tendency to try to bulldoze their way through depression. They try to work their way through depression instead of addressing the issues. But unfortunately, you can't work your way through depression. It just gets it's still there while you're doing all that extra stuff that you're doing. But it does not always look the way people expect depression to look. And that's one of the reasons that people call it high functioning, because the person experiencing a high functioning depression is usually still able to maintain much, if not all, or even more of their regular schedule. They're keeping up with tasks. They're doing this, they're doing that. Sometimes they even do even more than they normally do, which kind of brings me to number 2, which is where they try to out-achieve this depression, because we have this idea that depression looks exactly like this. Depression fits in this box. So when they try to out-achieve, meaning they try to gain all that extra success, they try to do more, be more, they try to excel their way out of depression, which is not a thing. And one thing that can happen sometimes is that it feels like that pole, that marker of what it takes to succeed keeps moving. I think it's in racing that sometimes they do it where there's a stick attached to the dog's head and there's a prize at the end and the dog is chasing that prize. But because the prize is attached to the dog, the faster the dog moves, the faster and further the prize keeps getting, because, that's how it works. And in high functioning depression, it can be like that, where it feels like that person is setting that, hey, if I can reach this goal, if I reach this, I'll be better when I get there. But there keeps going farther away, there keeps advancing, so they never get there. And that the pressure that they're adding on themselves to be more, to be better, to excel more continues to grow, because, the goalpost keeps moving. So the more the goalposts move, the less feeling of success they feel, the higher their need to succeed becomes, because it's like, hey, there's that much more I need to get. So that pressure, and there's also the expectation that the expectation is really that they're putting on themselves, but they get that feeling that other people, society expects them to be a certain way. Society expects them to be a certain person, which is why even though that person is working 27 hours a day, they still feel that they are not doing enough. They still feel like, hey, I'm only putting in 27 hours a day. I could do more there. I need to find 2 more hours to put into my 24-hour day. So it's like they're chasing something that seems like it's never arriving because they keep moving the goalposts. They try to out-achieve, because if you're achieving and succeeding, you can't be depressed, right? But that's not how it works. As long as you are human, you are a candidate for depression. And as long as you're a candidate for depression, it could happen. You could experience that depression as well. Another thing that happens is that people who are experiencing high functioning depression tend to have difficulty getting help because, one, they don't feel that they are, they don't have depression the way depression is supposed to look. So because of that, they don't feel that they should or could or get help. And sometimes even when the person is considering getting help, because of what society says, the stigma attached with mental health, with any issues with your mental health, and sometimes because of the expectation of certain people in certain places doing certain things, that they find that even if I wanted to get help, how would I look getting help? What if someone sees me getting help? So all these little things can get in the way of the person even being able to reach out and say, hey, I am struggling. Hey, I need someone to help me. Because one, they don't feel that they should or deserve or can get it. And two, they're afraid of who might know, who might see that they're getting it. What happens? What will people think if they get it? Because there's all that societal pressure for them to be better. It's that societal pressure for them to be that cut above, for them to be that, for them to be that success, that person who handles it, that person who got this so much that, I can't have human things like depression. So that can make it very difficult for the person to get the help they need. Since they can't get help and they have the depression, one thing that tends to happen is that they self-medicate. And so a lot of times it's usually alcohol because that's readily available and it is very much acceptable. And the more you have going on, the more acceptable it is that you're having a glass of wine here and a glass of wine there. Except that as you are attempting to self-medicate and the pressures and the level and the intensity of the depression is growing, what tends to happen is that your need for that medication is growing. So you go from a glass of wine at night to, well, we need one at lunch as well. And then you're drinking the bottles and then you're buying by the case and then you're having it delivered to your house by the pallet. But it all seems to make sense because you have a stressful job, you have a stressful life, you have all these things going on, which may explain, which people can use to explain what is happening. So they continue to self-medicate. Unfortunately, self-medicating does not necessarily take the symptoms away, especially with alcohol. Alcohol being a depressant, a lot of times you start drinking to mask a depressive symptom, but it doesn't take away the depressive symptoms. So when that buzz wears off, you not only feel the depression that you had already, you also have a little bit more extra left over from your alcohol from the night before. So it can make that self-medication itself can add to the depression that the person is experiencing. And finally, it can often be disguised or explained with drive. Because as the person is experiencing that stress, as the person is experiencing that pressure, as the person is experiencing that feeling that need to do more and be more, as the person is experiencing that sadness of things are not where they need to be, I'm not enough, I'm not doing enough, my achievements, my accomplishments are not enough. As the person is experiencing all those symptoms, it can easily be explained with their lifestyle. I am not sleeping well because I am so busy. I have so many things going on. My life is overwhelming. I am sad because I am not meeting my goals and I'm missing my target. But unfortunately, the target keep moving. So you're always going to miss the target if you keep pushing it forward. But the person may not, it's easy to explain why you're sad because you keep missing your target, why you're tired, why your energy is low because you're not getting enough sleep because you're having to work too much. It's very easy to start making excuses, disguising the symptoms, masking the symptoms, or explaining the symptoms with your drive, with your being such a successful, such a high achieving person, such a person in such light that, depression can't be an explanation. All these symptoms that I have may look like depression, but it's because I have XYZ going on. That's not necessarily how it is. It's that, it's just easily masked because you're doing a lot and it doesn't look the way people expect depression to look. Okay, let's do a quick recap. 1, high functioning depression is depression. You're experiencing the same symptoms. You're experiencing the same, you're experiencing depression. So high functioning depression is depression. 2, a lot of times people try to out-achieve depression. They try to work their way or bulldoze their way through depression. That doesn't work. It just means that you're doing a lot of stuff, but you still have that depression that needs to be addressed. People find it difficult to get help because 1, they don't feel that they are the person or that they deserve or that they're the type of person who gets help. And they often worry about who may know or see or what people may think if they are actually getting help. Instead, they try to self-medicate using things like alcohol and other stuff. One of which it could be exercise. It could be a lot of different drugs, different substances that people use to self-medicate. But unfortunately, self-medicating does not take away the symptoms. And finally, they may try to. It's very easy to explain or disguise depression with drive or the lifestyle or all the stuff that you have going on. But it doesn't matter how much you have going on. When you have the depressive symptoms, they are depressive symptoms and they need to be addressed as such in order for them to be, in order for them to go away. As always, if you or someone you know happens to be going through something that's more than you can handle, please remember that there are professionals like myself who are available, able, and willing to help, and are even providing remote services who may be able to assist with whatever you may have going on. So please figure out who those people are in your community so that if you need them, you can reach out and get the help that you need. And that is all we have for today. Good morning, world. Have an awesome day.